Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Launch Codes Football. My name is Chris.
And I'm Chelsea, back in second place because other Chris decided to not join us tonight. Sad.
Sag, but that's okay because we are here, and guess what? We have hit the time of year where it's playing off time.
Playing
Are
off time.
we excited? I mean, like I'm neutral. I'm like kind of excited, but I have no I have no dog in the game. But Chelsea, you do. You are interested in this last little week of the regular season here. So how are you feeling about this upcoming playoffs?
Feeling pretty good. We usually play pretty good against the Texans. We're playing at home, which is good. Primetime game, which we never get, also good. But also
Mm-hmm.
the Colts are notorious for blowing playoff opportunities at the end of the year. So trying to keep my expectations low, and if they get exceeded, great. Honestly, I didn't even expect us to have a shot at making the playoffs. So the fact that we're here at all is just awesome.
Yeah, and I think I think this w year is a big W for the Colts, and the fact that no one really expected them to be in this situation, um, just makes it even better. Also, I don't know why my camera is so blurry, so give me 1 second, but I'll keep talking. But I
Dude, I
mean,
was wondering that.
I was like, hello. I don't know what's going on here, but hopefully it fixed. There we go.
Oh, he's
Okay.
back.
All right, we're back now. We're good. So let's talk about a few playoff scenarios that we
I
find
dare say
interesting.
the playing off time.
The playing off time, yes. So for the big Bucks here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they got it simple. Win against the Panthers at home, and they're in. That's it. They win the division. You will have won tank division. Good job. If the Panthers win by some miracle, then and the Saints win, then the Saints go to the playoffs. So, sorry, Saints, your season's over. It's not happening, and better luck next year. Carr was not the worst idea, but it hasn't worked out this year as well as you thought. Everyone thought the Saints would be the top of this division easily, and they were proven big wrong because Baker Mayfield has really had a resurgence this year. Really, like they're one of the best offenses in the NFL. As much as we talk about how it's tank division, like they're actually pretty good at offense. So
Excluding last week. Last week was rough.
true. It may mean nothing though. It may
Yeah.
mean absolutely nothing. So that one to me is not really that interesting other than the fact that that is what will need to happen.
Okay, but like hear me out though. What if somehow the Panthers just break everyone's hearts, dude? That would kind of be legendary.
I mean, I guess it could happen, but why would you think that could happen?
Oh, I'm not saying I personally believe it will happen. I'm saying if it did happen, it would be mega entertaining.
It would be really entertaining.
Speaking
I'll,
of the Panthers, even
uh-huh.
more on the line, right? With Tepper getting fined $300,000 for throwing a drink at fans. Gotta love that representation of your great franchise.
Oh
That
yeah,
just
we're
sucks, man. I
throw
don't even think that the Panthers are a bad franchise, but Tepper just makes them look like the worst.
he's right now probably the most hated owner in sports at the moment. So, moving on from that, because we don't want to think about sad. We want to think about potential good and exciting football, right?
Like the Panthers winning.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really funny. Oh, also, I'm
Dude,
sorry.
that would be a meme.
This game is in Carolina. I made that mistake. So
Oh, so there will
it'll
be
be
like seven fans there?
there will be
Nice.
7 fans and and then like 80,000 Tampa fans.
Sick.
Um so also I will say if they don't win the game, it's not over for them, but they got a tie at least. So yeah, if they lose, it's pretty much over.
Dude, how
Um
much of a meme would that be if the Panthers and Bucks tied and
if
they
they
didn't make
okay,
the playoffs because of that?
if the Panthers
Dude,
and Bucks tie, the scenario is that Seattle has to lose and Green Bay has to lose or tie. So then they'll make the playoffs, which would just be really funny.
what
Like
if you had two ties? Dude, that would be too funny.
What if everyone in the league just ties this week?
No one scores. Everyone
Everyone,
ties.
dude, that'd be the best way. You know how they like protested the season a few years ago back in like 2011? Yeah, or 20. Just do that, but just don't score. Just keep kneeing the ball.
That would be chaotic good right there. Everyone
Honestly,
gets 0 points, and whoever wins wins.
because then you're not just pissing off the owners and stuff, you're pissing off everyone. Like all the
Everyone.
gambling companies are losing money, like everything's going downhill.
Inclusion.
True.
Make everyone angry.
So, that one is, I mean, we pretty much know probably what's going to happen. The Panthers have absolutely nothing to play for. The Bucks have everything to play
Pride.
for. Pride, yes.
Pride. Carolina pride.
Next, the Jaguars. The Jaguars got to win to lock up the division. That's pretty much as simple as it gets. I don't feel like going into all their crazy scenarios because if they lose, let's just say they're pretty much done. I guess there are ways they can do it, but they just need to wrap it up. The best way for them to make the playoffs, they win the division. For Chelsea, that is not what you want, I know, but yeah.
So I will say this might be a harder game than Jacksonville fans are giving it credit for
Mm-hmm.
because number one, Trevor Lawrence is hurt.
Yep, I agree.
Number two, Christian Kirk might not be back to play in this game. He's been on the
Mm,
IR with a core muscle injury, and I think he's supposed to be able to come off, but there's always a chance he might not. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, the Titans are not good, but this could potentially be the last game all time of Tannehill and Derrick Henry playing together. Like, if you think that those two, especially Derrick Henry, are just going to lay down in the last game. They, as someone who follows this division very closely, they've never been this way. Now, do I expect
mm-hmm.
the Titans to win? No. I mean, Jacksonville is a better team, even with Trevor Lawrence hurt. So I don't necessarily think that the Titans will win, but these division games are always hard. They're never easy, even if the team is bad. I mean, look at the Colts. We haven't been able to beat Jacksonville for how long, even when they were awful. And I mean, maybe that's just an us thing. We're fun like that. But still, I mean,
Like,
Derrick Henry is honestly probably nearing the end of his career in the next 3 years. He might not even be on the Titans next year. So I'm going to be very interested to see how this game goes because I think it might be harder than they're giving them credit for. But I don't think the Titans will win. But I think
oh,
it might be more difficult than people think it will be. Like
yeah.
outsiders looking in are probably thinking, "Oh, it's the Titans. They're terrible. They won't win this game." But like if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play, I mean, it's not impossible.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if you look at the Titans playing, they've played teams tough. Like it's not just a shoe-in for them to win. They have to go
Yeah.
out there. They have to try hard. And I agree with you. The Titans aren't just going to lay down against a division rival. And I mean, they're not the worst team ever. And honestly, they're just trying to grow like this year over like with their quarterback, with everything. They they just want to see improvement from their team. So honestly, and here's the thing. What a lot of people don't realize is there will be guys that will get playing time that are playing for a job. And those guys will do this week for some people is their Super Bowl. Like
I mean, if you're Tajay Spears, right, and Derrick Henry might not be with the Titans next year, this is your week to like go off against
mm-hmm.
a pretty decent team. Like if you go off against Jacksonville, like maybe they don't draft a new running back one. I mean, you never know. Teams like this, teams aren't just going to lay down because they're out of the playoffs.
Yep.
Like if they have the chance to break a division rival's heart, they're going to do it. That's just football.
Yeah. I agree with that. So this will be interesting. This whole division has been so entertaining this year. Like
Which no one expected, by the way. Everyone thought the whole division was going to be garbage.
And you know what's funny? I've heard some people call it the actual tank division, but I'm like, I don't think it's the tank division. I actually think there's really talented teams all through it,
I
or at
think it was
least, yeah.
supposed to be that way. And then Shane Steichen ended up being a much better coach than people anticipated. And somehow the Colts are in the playoff race. Honestly,
hmm
I don't even know how, but somehow Where here, we already knew Jacksonville was going to be good. Everyone in the division knew that they were probably going to take the division before the year started. And then the Texans came out of left field. No one saw that coming, even with Stroud. So
Yeah,
it's
no one
definitely
did.
been entertaining.
Yeah. And then, so also, we have the Texans and Colts in prime time here. Um, Speaking of this division. So, I mean, this is big for both teams. Both teams have a lot to prove. This is going to be a big time matchup. Lots of people going to be there. It's going to be fun. Um, how are you feeling, Chelsea? Do you feel confident or do you feel like, okay, we can play decently well? I mean, I know there was like that bad game you guys had against the Falcons, which is like, I don't like that one hurts to lose, but you still have a chance at this. So, I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, I mean, first of all, can we just acknowledge the fact that I believe that this is the Colts' first primetime game all season?
No way. I feel like they've
First
definitely
or
been on.
second game before the season started and they released the schedule, the only primetime game we had was Germany against the Patriots. This is literally our second or third primetime game. We never get primetime games. Ever since Luck and Manning left, no one cares about us. And the fact that it's in Indy is like really good for the city because
Mhm.
Troy Aikman and Joe Buck are going to be there. They're going to bring all the national camera crews. Like it's going to be a
Mhm.
sellout.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I could go to that game, I would go. That would be mega entertaining. Um, I've been following the injury report this week, just kind of keeping an eye on some things. Kenny Moore was out last week against Devontae Adams, which all Colts fans were very afraid because that meant that Juju Brents was going to be on Adams for most of the game, which he was. Adams still had a touchdown and like 120, 130 yards, but against Juju Brents, the fill-in for Kenny Moore, he had like 4 catches for 38 yards. That's pretty impressive. Juju Brents is a rookie against arguably a top 10 receiver in the league. Like that's mega impressive for him. Now everyone else, is up for debate, but
Mhm.
specifically for him, that has to be a huge confident boost, right? Going into the last week of the season. Kenny Moore seems to be looking good to play, which is good.
Yeah.
Put him on Nico Collins. Feel pretty good about that. Nico Collins is arguably a top 5 receiver right now, so you want your best corner on him, unarguably. Um, Outside of that, it looks like the only guy that's questionable right now is Ryan Kelly. But Smith looks to be looking good. Zach Moss, who's been out after he suffered an ankle injury, appears to be looking good, and a couple of other guys. So if you really want Kelly to play, Kelly's the start. You don't really want a backup playing in your game for the postseason. But outside of that, it doesn't look too bad injury wise, which is reassuring. Now looking at the Texans injury report, I don't know if you looked at it today. There's a lot of people on there. Their
Mm.
wide receiver 2 and 3 are on there.
Yeah.
Will Anderson is on there. There are a bunch of people on there. So, not necessarily saying they won't play or even that they'll play injured because they might not. But it's kind of alarming if you're a Texans fan that all of those people are on the injury report in the biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
So on the injury front, I feel pretty good. Playing at home is really helpful. We typically play the Texans very well. We beat them in Houston this year already. I think it was week 2 or week 3, really before Stroud started taking off. So you kind of have to maybe asterisk that a little bit.
Mhm.
But he still was like 30 of 42 for like 280 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, he still played well, but they were still developing. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I expect a better version of Stroud to come out in this game than the one that we beat at the beginning of the season.
Okay.
I mean, he's obviously very good. I mean, he's arguably a top 10 quarterback in the league already as a rookie, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to beat him. I can't say I'm really that afraid of like Devin Singletary. I mean, he's had a good season, like a good resurgent season for him.
Mhm.
But I'm not like super afraid of him. Watch me regret that on Saturday. But, you know, Tank Dell is out for the year. So
Yeah.
that definitely helps us. If we were playing Nico Collins and Tank Dell, I would be a lot more afraid than I am right now. And their defense is actually surprisingly good. Stingley has had a good year. Will Anderson is really good. They have some guys on that defense that aren't really that well known, but are actually playing really well. Like the Texans are a well-coached team. D'Amico Ryans is legit. That dude is good. I think that it's either going to be him or Steichen or Stefanski that wins Coach of the Year. Like he's had a really good season
Yeah.
because no one thought the Texans were going to be competing for winning the South. No one even thought they were going to win 5 games. And the same goes for the Colts. So I mean, the fact that he's even here is pretty impressive. So I feel statistically on paper wise pretty good about it. But CJ Stroud is really good. And I'm still going in with like a healthy dose of like, I'm afraid. Because like I said, it would be very Colts to blow this at the end of the year. That's been our track record the past 5 years, basically. That would be very us. But I think that Steichen is a different coach. I think that these guys actually really want to play for him. And I think that matters. And I think playing at home is huge. And on primetime. These guys, they never get primetime air. So the fact that they know that the whole nation is watching them is big. So we'll see. Pittman's healthy. Taylor's healthy. Minshew scares Colts fans, but is fine.
Yeah.
Like I like him. He's a good backup, and he is a good fill-in guy. But every week I watch him, I'm just like gripping the table, like because he just makes some throws, and I'm like, dude, you're scaring me.
We
But
want a Minshew playoff game.
that would be pretty sick. That'd be pretty sick. So feeling pretty confident. We'll see. Still a healthy dose of hesitation just because of our previous track record of blowing games. But feeling pretty good. And it's an 8:15 game. So everyone's going to be watching.
So like, wait, because I know that game is late, but when did the Jags play? Because if they win, then it kind of
I think the Jags play on Sunday. So there's 2 Saturday night games that got flexed from Monday night because of the college football championship. So we're the 8:15 on Saturday. But I don't think Jacksonville plays until the day after. However, if the Colts win, we're in. We can either win the division or be the 6th or the 7th seed. I don't remember. But as long as we win, we're guaranteed to be in the playoffs somehow.
Got it.
So regardless of what Jacksonville does or not, we still make it into the playoffs somehow. I don't know how, but we'll make it in statistically.
Okay. There you have it. Let us know what you guys think about that. And if there's any Colt fans listening or just division fans listening, please let us know.
It's going to be an entertaining AFC South weekend. I don't think the AFC South has had a weekend this big in 10 years?
Been a minute.
I mean,
it's been a big minute.
It's been a hot second.
So then also speaking of just drama and entertainment, we have the Packers playing the Bears. So
good.
This one I think could be incredibly funny. The Bears have the chance to do something hilarious. If the Bears win this game, the Packers are out of the playoffs. If you guys remember last year, this almost exact scenario happened where the Packers, all they had to do was beat a Lions team that at home in Green Bay with literally the Lions had nothing to play for. All they had to do was beat them and they would be in the playoffs. And they lost. Detroit did everything in their power merely to spite them. This is exactly what the Bears can do. I know. This division is so funny. I think this division might hate each other more than like almost any other division. Every one of them hate each other.
Yeah.
Like, there's no sympathy because the Bears have been bad for the Bears. There's no sympathy for the Lions even. You could argue there's been no sympathy for them. Packers, no. Vikings, definitely not. Like,
I will say though, pretty much everyone in the country is cheering for the Lions except their own division. Like the Lions are such a fun story, but people in that division, they do not give 2 craps that the Lions are good.
Yeah. They've been like, took you long enough to win one division like a year. That's what they're thinking. But
I mean, I can't really say much. That's how the South feels about the Jaguars. They were bad for 15 years basically.
Exactly.
And now they're good. And no fan of another AFC South team is like, oh, Jacksonville's good now. Like, we just want them to be bad.
So I'll say this. I think this would be incredibly funny. I have to give it to Fields. He's been playing better recently. In fact, he had the "We Want Fields" chants going on in Chicago, which I think is really nice because man, Fields
He's
has
gone
gotten a
through
lot.
it.
He has had a lot of crap happen this year. Like not only everything with his coaches, but just like his play. There was a lot of expectations going into this year, and I think some of it was fair. I picked him to be like one of the best fantasy QBs, and I
I
I
did
guess
too.
recently he has been, but
Yeah, I did too.
we had really high expectations for him. And I think it was fair. I'm not going to sit here and say like we shouldn't have had that because I think especially getting DJ Moore, that was like a move to win now. Now that connection has built a lot. Like you can see they connect a lot now, but it took some time. The whole offense
Mm.
just took time. So I'll say that I think the Bears I don't know if they should go away from Fields, but I'm also not going to sit here and say don't draft a QB. You know, you can draft a QB and just leave him on the bench. That's exactly what Green Bay did, and now they seem to be set again because they just pick the quarterback lottery right every time they need to for like 30 years. That's crazy. But I mean, a lot of people at that time, myself included, I'll include this one, or myself in this, that when they picked Jordan Love in 2018 over a wide receiver, they thought it was stupid. And
I thought it was
now,
stupid.
I mean, I still think there's some justification in the fact, as of this very moment, that they could have won a Super Bowl, but they needed a wide receiver. Like they needed help. They needed a Christian Watson, but they didn't want to draft it for Rodgers. And he still made them look good. He brought them to an NFC championship, only losing by 3, but to Tom Brady also, by the way. But
Because of course, right?
yeah, but you know what this means, right? You know, I heard this earlier. It's the Packers' curse. Their quarterbacks are only allowed 1 ring. So Jordan
Oof.
Love will win 1 ring, and then that's about it, right?
Yikes.
I
Dude,
mean,
if the Packers lose this game, I think Tom Grossi on YouTube might have an aneurysm.
I
Like on national YouTube with like 20,000 viewers might have an aneurysm.
that's like what started his YouTube channel is the loss in the NFC Championship to Seattle.
Poor
So
dude.
maybe losing is better content. If you think about
Honestly, though, it probably is.
like, guys, should we just start posting like horrid reactions to how angry we are when we lose? Like, honestly,
Evidently.
like
I
if
want to see Wiles screaming on TikTok.
guys, you should have seen it when Colts played Minnesota last year. That was
Oh, oh my word. Guys, when I tell you we were winning by what, 30 points? I thought,
33.
oh, I was like, oh, how nice. I'll just take a nap and wake up and celebrate at the end. And let me tell you, I was rudely awakened in the fourth quarter from my lovely nap to someone saying, hey, let's take the lead. And I said, who? And they said, the Vikings. And I said, what are you talking about? Are you serious right now? And
Chelsea
then
was
they blew it in front of me and in front of my entire friend group, and they all got to see me livid, and that was just a great memory.
that was
Just
one of
great.
the funniest things because Chelsea also was just waking up. So she's a mix of pissed because she's waking up and pissed because she's watching an all-time choke job.
It
Like
was probably quite entertaining for the people that were around me, honestly.
it really was. But like you almost like I don't know how to describe it. You almost just feel so bad that you don't want to laugh at the person, if that makes
Dude, I
sense.
was
Like
fuming.
you just kind of see the horridness that's happening on TV and you're like, "Man, I just feel for you." Like I don't want to laugh. I feel for you. But
Right.
it's okay,
It's okay. People still laughed at us on the internet, so it's
I
fine.
know the internet has no remorse. But
But seriously,
yes.
if the Bears can somehow pull this out, that would be all time hilarious. Do I think that they will? No. But if they did, that would be pretty funny.
Yes. And also, like, think of it this way. For the Bears, like, I know Rodgers said this is their Super Bowl, trying to insult them. And yes, it is. Like, let's be real. It is their Super Bowl at this point. They don't have any other games this year. So, um, and this is the most meaningful one. And Bears and Packers fans, like that whole division hates each other, but like the Bears and Packers specifically have like blood, like a blood hatred for each other. Um, there is absolutely no love between the two. Yeah,
Seriously.
that's funny,
And
right?
uh,
Uh,
good thing we can't field opinions.
got him.
Oh, wow, we're so funny.
We are
If only Chris were
hilarious.
here.
True.
But anyway, I personally think that the Bears have tight end lockdown. Cole Kmet is for real. Now he might not put up stats every game, but he has proven this year that he's legit. So
Hmm.
you're good there. You got DJ Moore as your one. That's great. You
Yeah,
have your one locked down. Your running back's up for debate. The rest of your receivers are up for debate. Your line's up for debate. And then your defense is all over the place, except for like one corner that's really, really good. I don't know. I mean, what if they just took Marvin Harrison?
they honestly could.
I
It's
mean,
definitely.
you give Fields Marvin Harrison Jr. or you give him the tight end from Georgia. I'm Brock Bowers, and you run out Brock Bowers and Cole Kmet and DJ Moore, and you run two tight end sets. I don't know. I feel like that would be kind of nice.
Hmm.
I personally think that there is so much elite non-quarterback talent in this draft. If I were the Bears, I would just draft an elite receiver in the first round, and I would stick with Fields, and I would see if it makes a difference. I
You
would
could
take
do
a
that.
I would take an O lineman in like the second round and the third round, and then like take defense and just see. I mean, it sounds like they're going to keep their head coach. I don't know if that's necessarily the best move or not, but we'll see. But if you give Fields 2 to 3 solid guys and at least
Hmm.
one strong lineman, I mean, what's to say that he couldn't not have success?
Hmm.
He's looked good this year. People want to hate on Justin Fields so much because of his prior experiences in prior games up to this year. And even for some of his games this year, which is reasonable. He's had some bad games. But the talent is obviously there. Like, if people don't see that Fields can obviously be a starter in this league, I think that they're just blinded by hatred of Justin Fields for some reason. Like, the dude is good. A lot of teams would probably trade a second or first round pick for Justin Fields
Hmm.
for a guy that fans think has been mediocre. Like, teams don't just do that. Like, they wouldn't just trade. You're gonna sit there and someone's gonna sit there and tell me that the Patriots wouldn't trade a high second or a first for Justin Fields.
You
If
could
I
do
was
that.
Bill Belichick, what the heck? I mean, he's already better than every other option you have. I
Hmm.
mean, you trade for Justin Fields, you take Brock Bowers in the top 10, all of a sudden your offense doesn't look that bad.
No,
So
I think the
that that
Bears
that's just
they
me. But
they have a lot they can do again this year. They could trade their number one again. A team that really wants a QB, they could do it all over again. They could have the same thing happen.
they could
Um,
get 2, maybe 3 firsts out of that first round pick with Caleb Williams waiting in the wings. I
Caleb
mean, they have
Williams, Drake May, something like that.
they
Yeah.
they have options. Michael Penix, they have options for real. They could trade that first, trade down into the top 5 and have 2 firsts and take 2 receivers. All of a sudden, you have one of the youngest, most talented receiving cores in the league. So I mean, they have options. I would not give up on Fields yet, but in regards to this game specifically, I don't think that the Bears are going to beat the Packers. I don't think that the Packers are anything spectacular necessarily, but I do think that they're better than the Bears at this point. But that's not to say the game won't be hard. Like I said about the AFC South, those division games are always brutal, regardless of how good you are. Same thing here. Honestly, probably more so with this division than the South. Every game is brutal.
Okay, hear me out though. What does management do if they not only lose, but Justin Fields looks awful. Like he just comes up and has a terrible game. And that's how
I
the season
think
ends.
I think if he comes out and he looks terrible, I think they trade down, spend one pick on a really good position player, and then use a late first, their second late first, and take a quarterback. Take like a Bo Nix or
I,
something like that.
I see nothing wrong with taking a QB and just sitting them. It's not a threat to your QB. If your quarterback feels like if it's that big a deal for you to draft someone and that it makes them feel threatened, then they shouldn't be in the NFL. Like the whole
But
point of the
like it
NFL
is
is to
a threat
compete.
though.
It's
It
not
it
a
is it is a threat though. You're telling me that if the Bears go out and take Caleb Williams, that's not a threat to Justin
okay
Fields. That is 100% a threat.
threat or just like look honest business. Here's what I think. Like what is it? What I know that in history, for example, like Brett Favre got all mad when they drafted Rodgers, but they still sat Rodgers for a while. I don't think it's this thing where the Bears by not play or by drafting someone are saying, "Hey, we we aren't sold on you," or you don't have to do it like that. You can just I think it's okay to have a quarterback sit back, watch, and learn. You know, you can do a lot with that. And now the Packers are benefiting from doing that. And that's crazy to me. Does but I mean, I do see
I
what
will
you
say
mean, but
though,
I don't
the
know.
Packers are the only team that has been able to successfully do that. I
Only?
personally cannot think of any major teams that have had three successes like that in a row. When the Colts took Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning was gone. Everyone knew it. He was injured. That was a threat. I mean, you don't take a quarterback with the first pick to sit them. You don't. A guy at the first round in the first round at the first pick is starter worthy. That's why he's the first pick. If I'm the
It didn't
Bears and I take
used to be
Caleb,
that way though.
but it
Like
is
now it
now.
is.
That's the reality now. If the Bears take Caleb Williams and sit him for 2 years behind Justin Fields, they're gonna have a riot at Soldier Field
Why? Because
because
like
Caleb Williams is arguably better than Fields. I don't think that they should give up on Fields. I like Fields,
I don't
but
think
you
it's
don't you
giving up.
don't you don't take a guy first overall to not start them. If you're taking a guy first overall and you're not going to start him, he doesn't deserve to go first overall.
Or I mean, look at it this way. If you're not, let's say Fields does come out and just has an awful game.
Which would
This
just be sad.
it would be sad. Like let's just say he reverts back to early season Fields where he looks terrible. I mean, is it really that bad of an idea to take a Caleb Williams, to take a Drake May and just see which one's better? Like, I mean, you have the opportunity. You have the opportunity at this point. And it's and yeah, maybe because of the last game, let's say, you lost 38-20 against the Packers in the first week. Now you do look like a different team now. So, but it is going to be in Lambeau. But, is there truly anything wrong with a team just taking Caleb Williams? Maybe it looks bad, maybe it looks offensive, maybe it does. But if Justin Fields comes out and just has like a stinker, is it something you at least think about? You're like, I can take these guys and just have them both try out, see which one's better, and then go from there. At least you'll have two quarterbacks at that point, and then you can trade one, keep the other. It sounds more like a win for the Bears. It kind of sucks for Fields or even maybe Caleb Williams. But, I mean, isn't the whole point competing? I don't know. I'm just saying for the Bears to be good, to further give them a better chance at being good long term, is it worth trying? That's what I mean by it. Like, even if it does come across as threatening, which maybe it does. Maybe I can see where it does, but it worked out for the Packers for for Rodgers, and it's working out again for the Packers. And like you said, the Packers seem to be the only team that can apparently do that. Everyone else is dumb and doesn't know how to get QBs apparently. But I mean, even look at the 49ers. The 49ers had how many guys on the roster before they found their guy now? Like they weren't shy about, getting rid of Trey Lance. They were like, look, He's not it for us. We don't care. We've spent a number 4 overall pick. It was a mistake. At least that's to me what it shows is they thought it was a mistake, and now they've got Brock. So I just kind of look at it as a chance to prolong your success, have a better chance at getting a good QB. But you also could get it wrong. I mean, it's all a gamble.
But the thing is, you're not going to take a QB first overall to trade him. You're just not. No one does that. And I mean, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. If there have been other teams like the Packers that have managed to do that, which there very well may have, I just can't currently recall any off the top of my head that have done anything as specific as the Packers have. But I mean, I can see your argument if you take a guy not in the top 5. Like if they trade the first pick, they trade down to 5, they take a position player at 5, they get an extra first, and they draft at like 20. They take a quarterback and they sit him and they let them like duke it out. Sure, I can get that. But if you're going to spend your most important piece of draft capital that only rolls around so many times per decade, you can be, that is redundant. Like, why put all your chips in to not even start him? Like, at that point, you might as well just start someone that is actually, or pick someone that's actually going to start.
Well, what about the Niners with Trey Lance? They picked him. They didn't start him. They barely played him. They did try to play him, and then he got injured. So
Well,
what do you
wasn't
think
he
of that?
originally picked to take over for Jimmy Garoppolo eventually, though, and he just didn't pan out?
Yeah.
And I
I
mean, he
mean,
got
yeah,
replaced by a 7th-round rookie. Like, the probability of that happening is so low that, like, that is more improbable
it's
than what
just
the
never
Packers have
happened.
done.
Yeah.
It's never happened. So I don't really know if you can use that as a litmus test for this particular argument, just because no one expected him to be anything. I mean, he was the last pick in the draft. I mean, no one even knew who he was except fans of the team he played for in college. But outside of that, no one knew who he was. I didn't recognize his name when he was drafted. And I'm pretty well up on prospects and things like that. But like, no one knew. So, I mean, I just, if you want to take a quarterback and you're unsure about Fields, if you're unsure about whether you want to start the quarterback, I would trade down. Trade down, get more picks, take a position player for Fields in the top 5, test him out, see how he does. If he does bad, you have a guy sitting in the wings that you picked between picks 20 and 32 that you can test out. And if it doesn't work, you'll be bad again anyway, and you can take a quarterback at the top of the next year's draft. But I'm the kind of person that I just wouldn't spend the most important piece of draft capital I'm ever going to get on a guy just to sit him. Like, if I'm going to take you at 1, you're going to start. If I'm going to take you at 1, you're going to be the face of my franchise. You're not
Okay.
going to sit on the bench for me.
Yeah. I agree. I can definitely see that. So, guys,
And I can
yeah.
see you as well for sure. I mean, there's definitely an argument if you use the Packers as the litmus test, because somehow it's worked out for them. I
It
don't know
has.
how, but
Yeah, I mean,
somehow it has. You would
it's
just think that if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it,
yeah.
you know?
I think it's a scary thing, and yeah, it can also rub people the wrong way. It's
Imagine being
definitely
Caleb Williams,
yeah,
not playing your first year.
yeah,
You probably ask for a trade.
I mean, here's the thing, like it's more of a business move than anything.
Yeah,
It's more of it is cold in a way, but
it is.
you know that like to win, they sometimes there are cold moves that have to be made. I'm not saying that it's right, just mean that this is what the Bears could do, and they have the opportunity to do it now. But they
Unless you're
probably
the
won't.
49ers and you just get the last guy in the draft and he happens to
Exactly.
be
They're
an
just like,
MVP candidate for 2/3 of the season, whatever.
um, yeah, no, that's crazy. But anyways, guys, please
That's
let
what
us
the
know what
Panthers
you
need to do. They need
yes.
to take a Brock Purdy,
Just
emerge from the ashes,
trade everything for him. That's what our owner would do.
trade every pick for the last pick in the draft, and take a quarterback.
But let us know what you guys think about this debate. Should the Bears stick with Fields or should they go get a new guy? Because the Bears fans apparently want him, but that's probably not all of them. Let's be real.
Probably not.
Probably not. But anyways, guys, I think that's pretty much it for what we want to talk about today. Chelsea, you want to go ahead and lead us out of here?
Yeah, so thanks for listening, guys. Tune back in next week for more content. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at LaunchCodesFB and on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at LaunchCodesFootball. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Chris.
And we will see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.